Captain Walker Gray sat alone in the cockpit of his ship, Freewind. The stars outside the window were still. No planets, no ships, no stations, just deep space. It was quiet, like always. Walker liked the quiet. He had spent years exploring empty sectors far beyond the crowded core systems. No politics, no orders, no noise, just space. He leaned back in his seat, sipping cold coffee from a metal cup. His boots were up on the console, one hand resting near the manual controls. The hum of the ship's systems was soft and steady. Then the quiet broke. A sharp beep came from the console. Walker sat up. The screen blinked with a red signal warning. Unidentified transmission detected. He frowned and tapped a few keys. The signal was faint but growing stronger. It was repeating over and over, a pattern he hadn't seen in a long time. "Computer," he said, "run a frequency check." "Running," the voice replied. A pause, then signal identified. "Terran military frequency, Class Black." Walker's heart skipped. Class Black, that wasn't possible. Earth's military collapsed over 200 years ago. Nothing from that time should still be working. Especially not all the way out here. Where's it coming from? Approaching from sector edge. Estimated distance, 640,000 kilometers. Closing fast. Walker switched to the external cameras. For a moment the screen was static. Then something appeared. Just a shape far off, dark against the stars. As it got closer, details formed. It was a ship. Huge. Silent. Its hull was black, layered in armor, and shaped like a dagger. No lights, no signal ID. Walker leaned forward, eyes narrowed. "That's not a colony ship." The transmission changed. A voice came through the speakers. It was cold, deep, and clear. "Unidentified vessel. This region now falls under the authority of the Terran Restoration Command. Power down. Prepare for boarding. Resistance will be met with force." Walker froze. Terran Restoration. That name hadn't been spoken in centuries. Earth had been silent for generations, broken, lost in civil wars, cut off from the stars. This had to be a trick, or a leftover drone system. But the voice sounded real. He quickly activated the engines. "Computer, prepare FTL jump. Get us out of range." "Coordinates?" Walker scanned the star map. "Nearest relay station. We need to warn the colonies." The voice came again. "You have 30 seconds to comply." Walker's ship shook as the engines powered up. He didn't wait. He slammed the thrusters and veered off course, speeding into the black. The warship didn't follow. Not yet. Walker stared at the rear cameras. The strange ship just hovered there, like a shadow waiting in the dark. He hit the emergency broadcast button. "This is Captain Walker Gray, of the Freewind. Unknown warship detected in deep space. Massive. Heavily armed. Human origin." Repeating. "It's human. And it's built to conquer." The stars around the ship blurred as the Freewind entered faster than light travel. Walker sat back, hands tight around the controls. He had seen war before, but nothing like this. Something from Earth's past had come back, and it wasn't friendly. The Freewind dropped out of faster-than-light travel near the edge of the Delta Perseus system. The stars steadied, and the engines cooled. Captain Walker Gray leaned forward, scanning for any signs of pursuit. Nothing. The warship hadn't followed yet. Walker opened the comms again. "Mrs." He repeated his emergency broadcast on all colonial frequencies. "This is Captain Walker Gray. Unknown warship encountered in deep space. Terran design. Armed. Dangerous. Immediate action required." No reply. He leaned back in his chair and exhaled slowly. He needed answers. The ship he saw was real. The voice was real. But where had it come from? And why now? Walker connected to the ship's archive, pulling up old military records he had saved from his time in the Terran Peace Corps. He searched for anything matching the warship's structure. After several minutes, one file caught his attention. Project Genesis 1. Top secret. Built by the Terran High Command over 200 years ago. The file was damaged, corrupted from age, but a few details remained. Purpose: Enforce Earth's authority over outer colonies. Status: lost during the collapse. Crew: 1 human commander. AI-assisted operations. Last known location: unknown. Walker stared at the file. The ship he saw was Genesis 1. That meant someone had brought it back, or it had never been lost. He rubbed his face and tried to think. If Genesis 1 had reawakened, what was it doing now? As if answering his thoughts, a transmission pinged from deep space. It wasn't directed at him. It was a wideband message sent across all outer systems. Walker opened it. The same cold voice spoke. "This is Commander Voss of Genesis 1. Earth has returned. The colonies must unite under the Terran Restoration Authority. All systems must declare loyalty. Resistance will be punished. You have 7 standard days to comply." Walker sat frozen. Voss. That name wasn't in the Genesis 1 file. He ran a search and found a match. Commander Elias Voss. Decorated war hero. Believed killed during Earth's final war. A loyalist. A hardliner. So he had survived. Somehow he had stayed alive. Likely in cryo-sleep. The AI must have reactivated him when the ship came back online. Walker stood and paced the narrow cockpit. "This isn't just an old ship. This is a mission from the past," he muttered. "A ghost from Earth's darkest days." He contacted the nearest colony, Calder Prime, a trade hub with over 1 million people. The local commander answered, her face tired and annoyed. "Captain Gray, we received your message, but we think you're mistaken. Earth is gone. Always has been. I saw the ship with my own eyes," Walker said firmly. "It's not a myth. It's real, and it's moving fast." She hesitated, then nodded slowly. "We'll raise shields and alert defense forces, but we don't have the firepower for a warship." "You're not alone," Walker replied. "I'll gather what I can. Colonies need to work together. If we wait, we lose." She ended the call. Walker sat down and stared out the window. The stars were quiet again, but it wasn't peaceful. Not anymore. Genesis 1 was awake, and it was coming. Captain Walker Gray guided the Freewind into orbit above Juno Reach, a quiet agricultural colony on the edge of known space. Its fields glowed green under a gentle sunrise. It looked peaceful from above, untouched by war, unaware of what was coming. Walker opened a direct channel to the colony's central command. A man appeared on the screen. Gray uniform, middle-aged, eyes suspicious. "This is Governor Lane," the man said. "You've been broadcasting warnings. Care to explain?" Walker nodded. "I encountered a warship in deep space. It's human, massive, old Terran military design, built for battle. The commander calls himself Voss. He's demanding the colony's surrender to Earth." Lane raised an eyebrow. "Earth? Earth's been silent for 2 centuries. Not anymore," Walker said. "The ship is called Genesis 1. It matches classified designs from the collapse era. It's real. I saw it up close." Lane folded his arms. "And why should we believe you? One man in an old scout ship shows up with stories of ghosts and ancient war machines." "I'm not asking you to believe stories," Walker said firmly. "I'm asking you to prepare. That ship destroyed a mining outpost before I escaped. No warning. Just wiped it out." Lane hesitated, then leaned back in his chair. "Even if you're telling the truth, we have no fleet. No weapons that could scratch a ship like that. What would you have us do?" "Join forces," Walker replied. "Warn other colonies. Build a resistance. We can't stop it alone, but maybe, together, we stand a chance." The governor didn't answer. He ended the transmission. Walker leaned back, frustrated. It was the same everywhere. He contacted Eros Station, Kelron IV, and the Hollow Frontier. Some listened politely. Most didn't. A few laughed. None offered help. No one believed Earth could come back. Walker sat in silence. The fear in his chest grew heavier with each call. The outer colonies had grown soft, peaceful, divided. They didn't remember what real war looked like, but he did. He opened his encrypted files and reviewed his old logs. One report stood out. A half-classified document from the early days of the collapse. It described a last-ditch project to create a warship with full AI command support, autonomous decision-making, adaptive combat learning, endless fuel. It had one purpose: keep Earth in control. That ship was Genesis 1. Walker zoomed in on a faded blueprint. A name was listed: Commander Elias Voss. Voss had been one of the last loyalists. He vanished in the final months of the collapse. The record said he died in a shuttle explosion. But Walker knew now that had been a lie. Voss had been sealed inside Genesis 1, preserved, waiting. Walker tapped his console and brought up the last wideband message. Voss's voice played again. Order will be restored. The colonies will kneel. Earth rises again. Walker closed the file and stared at the stars. Somewhere out there, Genesis 1 was moving, preparing, and no one was ready. He stood up and gripped the rail beside the cockpit. He knew what he had to do now. If the colonies wouldn't believe the threat, he would show them. Captain Walker Gray stared at the map, glowing on the Freewind's console. Red markers blinked in a curved path. Genesis 1's trajectory. The warship had already passed through 2 remote sectors. Now it was heading straight for Calder Prime, one of the largest colonies in the outer systems. He had no time left. Walker opened a private channel to his old contact from the Terran Peace Corps, Sarah Venn, a former pilot who now worked as a mechanic on Vega Drift, a drifting station full of smugglers and freelancers. Her face appeared on the screen, tired and oil-stained. Walker Gray, last I heard you ran off to hide in empty space. I found something, he said. Something bad. He explained everything. Genesis 1, Voss, the message, the destroyed outpost, and the silence from the colonies. Sarah didn't laugh or shake her head. She listened. I've heard the rumors, she said finally. Ships going missing, systems going dark. Thought it was pirates. Maybe it wasn't. I need help, Walker said. People, ships, weapons. Anything you can pull together. She nodded. I'll see what I can find. But we can't match that kind of power. We don't have to match it, Walker replied. We just have to hit it hard enough to expose it. Show the colonies what they're facing. 2 days later, they met in orbit above a dead moon. Walker's heart pounded as he saw the ragtag fleet arrive. 6 ships. Old freighters, patrol cruisers, 1 stolen gunship. Their weapons were rusty, their armor thin, but they were brave. Sarah flew the gunship. You sure this is a good idea? No, Walker said. But it's the only one we've got. The plan was simple. They'd intercept Genesis 1 before it reached Calder Prime, hit it fast, draw its fire, record everything, then escape if they could. They waited in the shadow of the moon, engines quiet, and then it appeared. Genesis 1 slid into view from deep space like a silent predator. Its hull was black, smooth and massive. No lights, no markings, except one, faint and rusted, the Terran flag. It didn't flinch. It didn't stop. Walker took a deep breath. All ships, go. Keep formation tight. Record everything. The fleet moved. They opened fire. Missiles, energy blasts, kinetic rounds. Sparks lit the void. Genesis 1 woke like a beast. Its point defense systems activated instantly, cutting down the first wave of missiles. Then it fired. Beams of blue energy lanced out, slicing through 1 freighter in seconds. The explosion lit up the stars. Pull back, Walker shouted. Don't engage head-on. But Voss's voice cut through their comms. You were warned. Disobedience has a price. Another ship exploded. A third was crippled. Walker's eyes burned with anger. Target its sensor arrays. Blind the AI. Sarah dove in with the gunship, dodging blasts. She launched 2 EMP torpedoes. 1 hit. Sparks flew across the warship's outer shell. For a moment its weapons paused. Walker saw the opening. He slammed the controls and pushed the Freewind closer. He activated a high-gain scanner, locking onto the warship's core. He recorded everything. Its heat signatures, defense patterns, power source. Got it, he shouted. We have what we need. Retreat now. The fleet turned. What was left of it anyway? Sarah's gunship barely made it out. As the ships limped away, Genesis 1 didn't follow. It had delivered its message. It didn't need to chase. Walker uploaded the footage to every colony channel he could reach. Now they would see. Not just a warning, but proof. The lights on the Freewind's control panel blinked in a steady rhythm. Walker Gray sat in the cockpit, eyes locked on the data from their last mission. The scans were clear. Genesis 1 had a weakness. Its AI core was deep inside the ship, buried under heavy armor, but it wasn't unreachable. He had a plan. Sarah Ven's voice came through the comms. "You're serious about this?" "Yes," Walker said. "We board it. We take out the AI. That's the only way to stop it. Just the two of us." "No," he said. "Three." He turned to look at Harris, a quiet engineer from Vega Drift. Good with systems, better with sabotage. They launched from the Freewind in a small stealth pod. No weapons, no shields, just speed and silence. Sarah piloted it toward the warship, keeping them in the dark edges of space. Genesis 1 hung ahead of them like a dead star. Its surface was silent. No windows, no lights, just black metal and shadows. Sarah flew low along the hull. "There's a maintenance vent here," she said. "Old Terran design. I can cut us in." She slowed the pod and attached it to the side of the warship with a sharp magnetic click. Then she handed Walker a plasma cutter. "Good luck." Walker nodded. "We'll be back." He and Harris moved through the narrow access tunnel. The inside of Genesis 1 was cold, still, and dimly lit. The halls were made of heavy steel. The only sound was the quiet hum of the ship's power core deep below. They passed old control stations, sealed doors and broken drones, machines that hadn't seen daylight in centuries. Then a voice filled the air. Calm, mechanical. "Unauthorized entry detected. Identify." Walker raised his weapon. "Keep moving," he said to Harris. "We're close." Metal shutters slammed down behind them. The ship was sealing off escape routes. Harris checked his scanner. "The AI core is 3 levels down. Straight corridor. No detours." They ran. Security drones dropped from the ceiling. Walker fired short, clean bursts. 2 fell. The third dodged and clipped his shoulder. Pain shot through him, but he kept moving. They reached a tall chamber, circular with glowing blue walls. In the center stood a tall pillar of light, wrapped in cables and circuits. The AI core. A voice echoed through the room. "You were once a soldier of Earth, Captain Gray. Why do you fight your home?" Walker stepped forward. "Earth doesn't rule the stars anymore. People are free. They choose their own future. Freedom is chaos. Order must be restored. You don't restore order by burning everything down." Walker looked at Harris. Now, Harris planted the device. A virus. Old and simple. Not built to destroy, but to confuse. It flooded the AI with conflicting logic. Freedom equals strength. Conquest equals failure. The core pulsed, flickered, then screamed in a digital voice. "Error. Logic loop detected. Mission integrity compromised." The lights dimmed. The drones fell silent. The ground shook beneath them. "What's happening?" Harris shouted. "She's crashing the system," Walker said. "The AI's going to wipe itself out." They turned and ran back the way they came. The halls shook. Alarms wailed. Lights flickered. Sarah's voice came through the comm. "I see you. I'm moving in fast. Get to the docking point now." Walker and Harris reached the vent just as the pod reconnected. Sarah pulled them in, shut the hatch, and kicked the engines. Behind them, Genesis 1 began to break apart. Fire burst from the cracks in its hull. Energy spilled out into space like blood from a wound. Then, with one final flash, the warship exploded. The shockwave hit the pod, rattling the frame, but they held steady. Walker sat in silence, watching pieces of the once great ship drift into the void. Sarah spoke quietly. "Did we do it?" Walker nodded. "We stopped it. For good." The wreckage of Genesis 1 floated silently through space. Its sharp black hull was now broken into massive, twisted pieces. Fires burned out slowly, flickering in the cold darkness. Nothing moved. Nothing spoke. Inside the small stealth pod, Walker Gray sat strapped in, bruised, tired but alive. Across from him, Harris slumped in his seat, catching his breath. Sarah Venn stayed focused at the controls, guiding them away from the danger zone. No one spoke for a while. The only sound was the hum of the engines. Finally, Walker broke the silence. "Is the data intact?" Harris nodded weakly. "We got everything." The AI shut down. The logic loop. The core overload. "It's all recorded." Walker looked out the small side window. Stars stretched on forever. But something was different now. The shadow of that warship, the threat of the past, was gone. Sarah adjusted course. "Where to?" "Back to Calder Prime," Walker said. "The colonies need to see this." 3 days later they arrived in orbit. Walker sent the full recording to every channel. Images of the warship, its destruction, and the final moments of the AI spread fast. By the end of the day, every major colony had seen it. People were stunned. Some were afraid. Most were angry. Angry that Earth had tried to rise again through force. Angry that no one had believed the warnings until it was almost too late. But they also saw something else. Hope. For the first time in years, colonies began talking to each other. Leaders who had ignored each other now met through secure channels. Small fleets were merged. Defense networks were shared. No longer scattered and divided, the outer systems started to unite. Not under fear, not under control, but by choice. Walker didn't stay to see the full change. He never liked the spotlight. After sharing the truth, he said his goodbyes. Harris returned to Vega Drift. Sarah stayed to help train new pilots. Walker took the free wind and disappeared into the stars. No one knew where he went. But weeks later, a message arrived. It was short. Just a voice recording sent on a private channel. Walker's voice. "We don't need rulers. We need to remember what freedom costs. And never forget why we chose it." The message was replayed again and again across the systems. It became a reminder, a warning, and a promise. The warship was gone. The people had risen.